Hi, and welcome to all of you. We've had some of you on the panel in the past, Akshay, Kamal, Nikhil, and those were really tough times. And I'm glad we are in better times today. Of course, in the industry, I think we've had a lot of surprises and shockers this year, as you all are aware. A lot of highly anticipated movies and highly promoted films, got a very lukewarm response at the box office. The South film surprised us. RRR, again, like you all know, is making waves as we speak. Back in Bollywood, Gangubai, Kashmir File, Bhool Bhulaiyaa 2 have done well. And of course, a very big congrats to Abhishek, who's here with us for Drishyam 2. Really, really a big congrats.
Thank
And
you.
like the rest of them were saying, we really need a very big party now. It's about time. And of course, some Hollywood films also did well. And a very big shout out to the Kannada film industry for the huge impact it's had with KGF and Kantara. Coming back to that, there has been a lull and there's been a lot of anxiety. At the same time, with Drishyam 2's numbers and Brahmastra and the past few films, there is certain hope, that we have. And I want to know from all of you that in the coming year, are we walking into the new year with a certain sense of hope and relief, or renewed confidence from what we've learned in the past year? Kamal, we'll start with you.
Madhurita, I think there has been a lot of, for the lack of a better word, there has been a bit of negativity in media about the fact that people have not come back to cinemas in big numbers.
Right.
And it may be partly correct for certain, certain languages. But for the whole cinema exhibition business, the fact is that when you compare 2022 with 2019, which is the pre-COVID period, the admissions are down by about, I reckon, somewhere between 10 to 15%. And the fact is that the ticket prices have gone up by almost 14-15%, similar number, in fact, slightly higher. And as a result, the box office collections are where they were in 2019.
Correct.
One could argue that, we've lost 2020, 21, 22, and therefore the box office should have been at least 10-15% more, point taken. But I think we, as exhibitors, take solace in the fact that such a large number of people have already come back to theaters in spite of this big break of 2 years that we had. One of the worst, the most strict lockdown that we experienced in our country. In spite of all of those issues, a large number of people have come back. That said, It is also a fact that certain languages, and Hindi most notably, have, a good number of films have underperformed at the box office. They've not met the expectations we had. But that said, it's also true that, our business is of peaks and valleys, and we've had these similar phases even in the past. But we are drawing a lot of inspiration and confidence from what's happened in 2022. And I think 23 would hopefully correct also some of these anomalies that we've been experiencing in Hindi and some of the other languages. But I think on the whole, 2023 is, we feel fairly confident that is well poised to be one of the biggest years that we've had in the industry. When you combine recovery in Hindi with the increase in ticket prices, I think the box office numbers will be extremely strong.
Right. Akshay, you want to add to that?
Well, absolutely. I think just to echo the sentiments that Kamalji has expressed, I think even 2022, the year, much like our movies, has a bit of a first half and second half scenario where the first half was pretty shaky. A lot of learnings that I think we could derive from it. Towards the second half of this year, I think we've really started seeing a degree of stabilization and consistency in terms of consumption and footfalls. So earlier this year, we were seeing a lot of mid-segment films not doing anything at all. Where in the second half, where Vikram's Ram Setu is probably one example, and a couple of more films, we have Bhediya, which is still running. A lot of these films have really brought back the audience for the non-super tentpole films.
Correct. Yes.
Where there was this notion that only the KGFs and Brahmastras of the world will work, it's really good to see a Bhedia doing well. It's good to see something like a Kantara come in surprise. It's good to see something like a Karthikeya to come in do what it did. So I think we are moving pretty rapidly towards a degree of consistency in footfalls. And I'm pretty confident that we're going to end this year with a bang with Circus and Avatar 2 coming in and already showing some very promising advances in the case of Avatar 2. So looking forward to the year ending and terrific 2020.
Right. I want to add to that. In fact, there was this concept that only spectacle films will draw audiences back to the theaters, and Drishyam in a way broke that because it's relied entirely on content. For that matter, even back earlier in the year, Fulbulaya wasn't really a spectacle film, so to speak. It did good numbers. So I think that it's purely on content. Would you say that, Abhishek?
Yeah, I think I agree. Like kind of before Drishyam, I think a lot of people are saying only 10 per film, which are like KGF and RR. Singham of the World will be a big theater experience film. But I think with Drishyam, I think we broke all that myth of thriller being one of the blockbusters coming out of Bollywood without any song, without that kind of a promotion where we go on city tour and start dancing all around. I think it's just a pure content which will drive audience to theater. And I think Drishyam as a film and a franchise proved that. There is definitely a very big fan following of the franchise, which has helped it to push to the limit, which we're seeing right now. But I think audience are very smart. They exactly know what content they need to come to watch in theaters. I went to theaters, I think on the weekend to see the film with audience reaction. I saw people right from like a 14, 15-year-old to older people who are coming with a sticks and, things walking through the aisle. There's a very mixed up audience which actually came to watch the movie in the theater, like a family audience and young audience. So I think they already know what to watch. I mean, we had 2020 and 21, which was not good for the industry. When we came back, we got a couple of good films, but then again, certain films didn't work in theaters. Some were really good, which didn't work in theater, but some were really not good due to the average script and not really great content. And then I mean, when people really get good content, even a film like Kantara, which is South film, which started on a small number, but became a massive hit. So I think we need to really work on content and come with some great screenplay, which is very engaging and entertaining for the audience. I think that's what we have to focus on. And I don't think we'll be the whole idea about people will not come to theater now. That whole myth is gone away completely. We'll break all the records. Some to broken records.
Social media boycotts.
Yeah. I mean, Twitter, right before the release, I remember people writing, Drishyam will finish in this number, that number. We really believe in the film. We didn't sell any right of the film. We held on to the Indian theatrical, the international theatrical. We even kept our music by ourselves. So we really believe the numbers will be shot up big time. So I think you believe in the film, great content, and I think it's gonna achieve. PVR was a partner in the Indian theatrical together. So I think believe in it, make good content, people will come. They want to get out of home and watch something. Yeah, I mean, they can't be sitting at home and just watching OTT all the time. They want to come to theaters. Just give them good content.
And interesting, in case of Drishyam 2, the Malayalam version released some time ago, it was liked and consumed. So the entire assumption that everybody in the world is watching only web is again a myth. Vikram, would you like to comment on that? Because your production house is making some very impressive content across both big screen and for the web.
I'm walking into 2023 with some mixed feelings, but a whole lot of clarity. Mixed feelings because we are coming off a couple of challenging years, especially for the Hindi film industry. Mixed feelings because what's clearly evident, and as Abhishek touched upon a short while ago, positively happy because you see absolute demand. There are people who are willing to come in big numbers. An industry goes into a deep, challenging, existential crisis when demand dries up. What are we seeing here? What have we seen with films like Drishyam? We've seen that demand exists. People are willing to come to theaters, spend money, spend time, provided that the value for their time and their money is correct. So while at one end there's us coming out or almost out of a darkish phase, especially for the Hindi industry, which we primarily, Abundantia operates in, but at the same time, you're also seeing industry level demand. Why do I say clarity and to lead up to this point? Clarity because we know content is what is pulling people into theaters. Clarity because we know that the conventional markers of what would draw people to theaters, result in success, whether it was star appeal, whether it was budgets, whether it was genres, all of that is out of the window. It just shows that for the last decade or so, we've been dealing with a truckload of myths, self-created myths, self-created markers. This will work, that will work, this hero will deliver, that hero won't deliver, this genre works. All that is out of the window. It's taken us several kinds of sustained shocks to come to this clarity. The pandemic being the largest one, the advent of a very clear and present alternative to content consumption in streaming. But what's here to stay is now the fact that we cannot go back to this audience with substandard stuff.
Right.
We cannot take this audience for granted. Streaming is here to stay. It needs to be looked at as a coexistential medium rather than an alternate. Too much attention is paid to whether a film is theatrical or streaming. Too much attention is paid to whether there is an audience here or there for it. The fact is that a good film will work. A good story will always connect irrespective of what medium it's on. We've seen that for Ram Setu theatrically. We've seen it for a bunch of films like Jalsa and Shakuntala Devi and Chori on streaming. So I think the markers are now universal irrespective of the size of the screen. And that to me is the clarity we are walking into 2023 with.
Right. Very well said. We have Nikhil on the house with us. Hi, Nikhil. You didn't miss much.
Hi, Madhurita. Sorry. I was
No,
very
it's fine.
Vikram, I saw your call. I knew why you were calling. My phone was getting off there. I was trying to charge it.
Well, we were just calling to figure out, steal you away from your important work and get you here.
Arey, nahi, yaar. Abhishek, congratulations, man.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much.
You have saved the industry.
Yeah, I mean, you just delivered a good film. That's it.
Arey, yaar, but don't be so modest. You're doing what 90% of the films have done in the first week, your first Friday. You're doing today.
Yeah.
What are you doing? Don't be modest, yeah.
That's superb.
Thank you so much.
Modesty will get you nowhere.
Wise words.
Girish, you want to add to that?
Yeah, so I fully agree with what the panel said, and 2023 is somewhat I'm very bullish upon. We have big titles, coming upon also in Hindi, definitely, because that's taken the maximum beating this year. The other languages have come up in a big way. Audiences, for me, I think what I see is that, as Vikram sir also said, that the screen is no longer matter. It doesn't matter. It's the content which we have to portray, be it the big screen or be it the OTT. And one thing also which I clearly see diminishing is the language barrier. Because of OTT, obviously people are very quality conscious. You can't give them substandard. So the language barrier is also diminishing. Now for the Hindi audiences, Mohanlal or Rajnikant sir obviously was there, and the other Vijay, Surya, other actors are very household names. So, earlier they were not known. Only we were known, the industry was known only with the Hindi name actors. Now we can talk very easily about them. So clearly they're making inroads. That clearly shows that the fact that the language barrier is diminishing. And I think it's a very positive sign. So-called a correction is also coming here. And the audiences want good content. And I think the makers are there to provide it.
Yeah. Nikhil, you came in later, so we're talking about, are we entering the new year with hope, promise, and a certain kind of confidence, and with the learnings of this year?
Yeah, so I think the big, I think learning, like is the correct word to use. The big learning is that the spin doctors don't know about, they should just pack up their businesses, right? You can't spin anything. I can wear maybe 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pre-pandemic. There was this whole notion that we can somewhere or the other control the narrative by putting out the correct reviews, by putting out the correct number of stars, by getting the right influencers to talk about your films, etc., etc. You can't do that anymore, right? Because why? Because everybody is on a WhatsApp group. Right. So the guy who was paid 300 rupees is the person I'm going to listen to more than anybody who's influencing or a spin doctor. So the 300 rupee guy, like, I mean, Akshay Rathi is on this call. He will send a message to 300 people on his WhatsApp group and say, hey guys, I just saw Drishyam 2. You know, I mean, you can't believe how good this film is. It's fantastic. Whatever, no spoiler, etc., etc. Before you know it, by even the word is out.
Yeah,
The
yeah.
word is out, or opposite to that, which is, listen, ये picture सीधा OTT पे जाना चाहिए.
Yeah.
So where
Decide, yeah.
a lot of big production companies would
Yeah.
pride themselves in being able to control the narrative.
Yeah.
The narrative now has become universal.
मॉनिटर के पास
Yeah.
ओके इसको शिफ्टिंग करना है
So yeah, 2023 is going to be a big year.
Right.
And I think Pathan is going to start things rolling on. Avatar and Circus are coming next week.
Yeah.
So hopefully we'll end the year on a good note.
Right.
But everything is now looking for the Pathan, and like Girish just said, there is a huge number of things, massive
Right.
number of things
ओके
that have
लेट्स
got.
सी
I personally
Someone
feel I
point
think we'll have
silent,
a
Nikhil, I can't hear you.
20%
Yeah,
jump
so I'm going
is
to go
what I
out,
feel
Madhurika.
vis-a-vis
I'm going to go out.
2022. I personally feel that we'll definitely have a 20% jump in box office for all languages combined, the Indian box. We are falling short right now in the Hindi version specifically, but I think it's going to be a big jump, provided we give them the right stories. Yeah, we can't give them midway content, half-baked
Right.
stories, provided the audiences are very, very smart. Earlier, we used to say that they can, they can see the trailer. Now we can say they can smell the product, to be very honest.
Yeah. 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 Yeah.
But they
But
could
you
always smell the product, Madhurita. They could always smell the product. It's a well-known fact, and I mean, I think Akshay is more qualified to speak about how audiences on the ground could always smell the product, right?
Yeah.
Yes, they would choose that ये
Right.
picture ठीक नहीं है, पर दो अच्छे गाने हैं, 4 अच्छे fight sequence है, चले जाते हैं. At the end of the day, it is about value for money,
What
right,
we
Madhurika?
provide, what we offer to them truthfully. Yes.
Look at the bars. The bars are full. The restaurants are full. The malls are full. Why were they
Yeah.
not coming into? Why were they not coming into the cinema? Why were they
Right.
going in for a Pushpa and an RRR and a KGF and a Kantara? Why? Because they knew that ये मुझे value for money देगा,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. They want value for money.
I mean,
Absolutely.
honestly speaking, why would a Lal Singh Chadda not work?
Correct.
They felt it.
Yeah.
नहीं देखना यार हमें, you know.
And
So like
also what happens
Vikram and I have
say Nikhil.
Vikram, you were
Vikram and
saying
I have
something?
spoken about this on several occasions. Good
Yeah.
content.
That's all that we need.
You know, I have what Nikhil is referring to. I'll first quickly allude to that, Madhurita.
Yeah.
There have been some creators. Nikhil obviously is a filmmaker. I am an enabler, but we've always spoken about how good content, quality content, is commercially successful content.
Right.
Just that we self-created this situation, this belief that look at what we've referred to, right? One-time watch,
Yeah.
time pass watch. Look at the demand you're making on the audience. You are telling them that it's good to be mediocre. You're trying to tell them it's good to be average. Not only are they conscious about their money, they're super conscious about their time. Because
Absolutely.
these 3-4 hours spent, and by the way, it's no different on streaming. It's a myth that the expectations go down on streaming. On the contrary, they're tougher there because you have a pause or a stop button and you move on to other things. Here, at least you've committed to come to a third-party place. But today, these expectations from the outside world have come in from external factors and said that if you're not blowing my mind away, if you're not giving me a great time for my investment of time, energy, effort, money, then I'm not only going to not watch your movie, but I'm probably not going to watch any movie. I'm going to go spend that time and money outside.
Right.
And those alternatives have come back with a vengeance, especially post-COVID. And that's what we'll have to all work even harder for. So it's going to be content plus.
Right.
What we do to get more people consistently coming into theaters.
Right. Kamal and Akshay, do you all think that this year specifically, there were delayed releases, a lot of releases from the past years, all spilled into this year. Do you think the backlog and the chaos that caused also contribute to the way the viewing patterns, or that doesn't matter at all?
Akshay, you want to answer this?
Sure. So, Madhurita, I think a lot of what was made before the pandemic, or what was conceived before the pandemic, is already out. And I think all of us, especially the media, has been a little too brutal to that content, because let's face the fact that those 2 years of sitting at home and consuming content from all parts of the world has really made the palette of the audiences evolve. And therefore, a lot of these films that were, conceptualized or made before the pandemic, which released later, were actually shooting at a goalpost that had already moved. So it's unfortunate that a lot of those movies had to bear the brunt of rejection and dejection, from the audiences. But having said that, I think the release of a lot of those films, the successes we've had, the failures we've had over this year, will make us as an industry. And when I say the industry, I mean the entire value chain.
Across
the content creators, the distributors, us exhibitors, come out a lot more wiser with the learnings from this shake-up, or this manthan, if I may say that in Hindi. So I really think that these learnings will go a long way in allowing us to craft our content and conceptualize it in a way that will be a lot more down the audience's palette going ahead.
Right. Kamal, do you want to say something to that?
So I think that, content obviously is the main reason why cinemas exist, and that's the reason people come to theaters. But, pre-pandemic, we used to have this concept that on Saturdays and Sundays, even Friday evenings, people used to just turn up at cinemas and they would watch whatever was released that week. I mean, they would pick from whatever was available. So there was this viewing which was a result of a habit which had formed over many years. People came to cinemas because it was also a habit. It was a thing that you did on weekends with your friends or family members.
Right.
I think one big reason why cinema industry, exhibition industry has been slow to recover has also been because the habit was broken for 2 years.
Right.
And because, this is not really it's part of a social fabric, it's an important part of a social life, but it's not like, not like the regular stuff that you need for your day-to-day life, right? And especially because you have this alternate content, monster, which is supplying films after films, series, all sorts of content through Netflix, various other streaming platforms. So you had this alternate, and that perhaps created some level of inertia. So that's also been a reason why it's been slow to recover as compared to other out-of-home entertainment activities. But I think it's a matter of time when this habit will regain its momentum, because we can already see it's happening. Like, I'm not trying to dilute the fact that content is important, good quality, and people are being selective and they pick and choose. But I think a lot of people, especially the city locations, the urban areas, people also go to multiplex just for an experience.
Right.
You want escapism. You want to suspend your day-to-day issues for about 2.5, 3 hours. And cinema is a great place to do that. So I think it's a matter of time when, all these films which have done well this year, Unchai we've not spoken about, that brought in a very different segment of people back to theaters. Now, all of this will get appetite for more film viewing, and hopefully all of that will reflect in 2023. So I think content is important, but so is that habit formation, which perhaps has got broken in the last 2 years. That also is quite critical.
But it's a matter of time, we're back to the habit, is what you say.
It's a matter of time, absolutely.
Yeah, I mean, back to what Vikram had mentioned earlier, do you all believe that the industry and the makers now have learned to cope with or coexist with the digital platform? It's here to stay, and it's a strong medium. So are we still on the stage of coping, or are we like, we know how to work our way around it? Nikhil? You're producing a lot of content for the web and the big screen.
Yeah, so can you just repeat the question, Madhurita?
Nikhil, you're cracking. Can you all hear him clearly, or it's just me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Can you repeat the question? You're breaking up.
So I was saying that, have we
Hello?
learned to cope and coexist with the digital platforms, with the OTT world around us?
Yeah, I mean, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you.
Yeah, so I think totally we've learned to coexist. I think that we have to learn to coexist. There's no question about it. I think the next big one doesn't know whether the next big thing is going to be on a Friday on an OTT release, or it's going to be. I mean, Monica, oh my darling, fantastic film, incredible film, right? And it comes possibly a week or the same week as as Drishyam, right? So Drishyam releases and then Monica My Darling releases. Both are doing. I mean, Monica My Darling will possibly for youth and
Yeah.
will obtain that cult status, etc., etc. But and then there and Drishyam goes on to do 200 plus crores or whatever, right? I mean, I think. So we have to learn to coexist. There's no question about it. In my opinion, and honestly speaking, our where are even maybe a year ago, na, Madhurika, the so-called competition was possibly between feature theatrical release and OTT. The why the 18 to 25-year-old today has got a vast selection of things that they can go to. The
I just
amount of
last part of
festivals
what
that
you
are
said,
going on
Nikhil.
in this
The last 10
in
seconds we
cities.
couldn't hear you.
So I'm saying the 18 to 25-year-old consumer that is going into the cinema halls or even watching OTT, right? Today can sit down and watch World Cup.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right.
World Cup is going on, right? So now they can watch the World Cup. They can go to a bar. They can meet their friends. They will watch the 8:30 match. Then they'll watch the 12:30 match, right? If they don't go for the World Cup, then they're going for some rock show, or they're going for Mahindra Blues Festival, or they're going for Prithvi Festival, or they're going for Tata Lit Festival. The amount of content that one can get, which is not only from feature films and which is not only from theaters, and which is like what Kamal was just now saying. It is. I'll go to the malls. I'll
Yeah.
spend 3 hours in the mall. There will be Farhan Akhtar singing, or his band is playing, or somebody else is playing. I don't have to go into the. I don't have to go into the cinema.
Yeah.
So we have to pull up our socks, right? And I
Yeah.
think that the one thing that I want to talk about, Madhurika, is disruption. I think that Vikram has been a disruptor all his life, right? Gangs of Wasipur, Kahani, right? Look at the stuff that he has. Like he likes to call himself an enabler. I think he's being very modest. See, Abhishek, I told you, don't be modest.
I'm sure you'll become like me, is what he's trying to say.
Yeah, yeah.
I don't know whose
I'm
side
saying,
you're on, Nikhil.
I'm on your side only. I've always been on your side, Vikram. I mean, he is a disruptor. You have to disrupt. Grisham is a disrupt. Is so anybody who's following formula, right, will not work. I see the trailer of Lal Singh Chadda. I see an Amir Khan that I go, okay,
Nikhil, we lost you.
say
Nikhil, I lost your Amir Khan. No audio. Can you hear?
No,
No, right.
He's freezing.
Shut.
Nikhil, we lost your Amir Khan. You need to come back.
Nick, log out and log in again.
Yeah, I could do that.
No, I think just to continue his point, we
Yeah.
often finish each other's sentences. So I'm doing that. The point that he's making is that there is no formula.
Yeah, I'm back.
Like we spoke. Here he is. Nikhil, I was just completing your point about there being no formula and any attempt at conventional formula, not even facing sampling now. There's not even trial. There is utter rejection.
Rejection, absolutely.
So that's what we are seeing for work that has, and I speak for South Indian work films as well right now.
Right.
The attempt at convention, lowest common denominator pleasing cannot work because there is a definite choice being exercised by people thanks to how lives are today.
Yeah.
Nikhil, your example about, you were talking about Lal Singh and
Right. Nikhil, you talk about Lal Singh and Amir Khan. Yeah.
No, I'm saying the Lal Singh, in the sense that the writing seemed to have been on the wall, right? In the sense that the biggest film made by one of the biggest superstars of our country, right? From which is a adaptation of a huge film in North America or globally, right?
Globally,
But
yes.
you when the trailer only came out, people already seem to have made up their minds, right?
Yeah.
So this Madhurika, this whole notion of people having made up their mind, right? Which like Akshay will tell you, they could their audiences smell. They can smell a content,
Yeah. Yeah.
and it used to be industry parlance. It's really now become universal. Like they can tell you that if you can feel you can just feel the energy that this thing is going to work and this thing is not
Absolutely.
going to work.
Yes. Yes.
Right. So I'm just saying that I think that yes, so we have to learn to coexist. We have to learn, and not only coexist, we have to learn to be competing. It is going to be a competition.
Yeah.
Avatar today is going to compete with Circus. Who's going to win?
Right. 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 Yeah. 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 Girish, you want to say something like that?
Yeah, I completely see going. If you see the present scenarios which are happening right now, we have a Netflix doing Glass Onion, releasing us for a specific window for 4 weeks, and then going, using that fanfare of a theatrical, leading the audiences to their platforms. I probably see more of such disruptions happening. They would be commissioning big films. They would be trying to shortening the window. Few would go for originals. The theaters may play, may not play. I think Glass Window is a brilliant example. It had a limited, they advertised it as a limited release. They advertised it as a 4 week window, and now they're premiering on the OTT platform. So, as Nikhil said, yes, coexisting is there. Coexisting is not, it's just the base. We have to compete with each other because these windows are shortening. These windows are getting shorter and shorter each and every time. So content there leading to there. In fact, whenever I go to a any cinema, obviously PVR being the premium one, is that when I see a Netflix ad over there and I see, they say a 149 monthly charge, and you've seen a 300 rupee, you just bought a 300 rupee ticket, which obviously I hope has done well or not done well, and you are seeing a Netflix ad of 149. Where does it lead to? The audiences will think twice before purchasing a ticket. So that competence, that fight amongst each other, it's honestly, it's for the betterment of the audiences. They want good content being available at what particular format is what they decide.
Right. And there's also a lot of talk currently about the kind of content, like we talk about going back to the roots, stories that emerge from the, Indian culture. So there's story and there is storytelling, which is as important. So for all of you here and many of your makers, what do you have to say to that? Abhishek.
I agree in a certain way that the story have to be rooted. We need to be relatable to the story, but I don't think it all have to be like that. I mean, I remember 2008-9, we made a film Pyar Ka Panchnama about that time.
2010 May.
And we started at 8. We and Love started working 2 years on screenplay and casting, and then Viacom came in. And Vikram Sir was in the company that time, I remember, and he had loved the film when we pitched to him. But yeah, again, you just need to be out of the box. You need to do something fresh. It can be rooted to Indian culture. It cannot be just audience need little newness in the content. Otherwise, they will not come. We have seen film like KGF, though they say it's culture and rooted, but I still don't think it is. It's very much there. It's very edgy. The screenplay, when I saw the film, I in fact could request you to get a screenplay of it. I want to read the screenplay, how this film is written. It is a different kind of film. It's not easily, I don't think it can be written on paper. It's too difficult to write the film on paper. So I need to read the screenplay. So I think you need to just work on the content. It can be rooted, it cannot be rooted, it can be Indian culture, it can be just a little urban, Western, whatever. But it has to connect to audience. It needs to connect. Audience need to come to theater, and either they should be aspiring to be something like that, or they can connect. Something has to be there where they watch and they can relate to it. It's just writing material, I think, which sustains in theater. I mean, nothing else sustains. No star power, no music, no action, no marketing. It's just a weekend gimmick which will happen, and Monday onwards it will go.
Right.
Nothing will sustain.
I agree with Abhishek. Sorry, Madhurita, I just cutting in there. I agree with, because the star power which everyone was thinking is is a big draw these days. I think that's also a little under the question, a little not big time, but it's a little under the radar, because you can get a Friday start, maybe even the early start to the couple of hours from say 9 a.m. to a 12 noon, but after that, eventually again the content thing. So even the star power is under the radar in terms of box office performances of films.
I guess that's because the dynamics of stardom has changed.
Yes,
I think
for
a
sure.
good content, if it has a star power, it can go numbers.
Yeah.
But an average content having a big stardom, it will not go beyond Sunday. Like
Friday.
Yeah,
Friday
Friday,
ज़्यादा
like,
ही नहीं
I mean,
चलती है.
if you have a great gimmick of marketing, great song, great action, which you put in trailer, and people are excited to do advanced booking, you have a great number. But then eventually, if the content are supporting the whole idea of this film, nothing will support it eventually. But I think if you have a star power, the great content, it can go numbers beyond your expectation. That's happened with Rishabh. I think Ajay Sir playing Vijay Salgaonkar is no one, like when I was watching the film, I couldn't really see it Ajay Devgan. Like Vijay Salgaonkar running his family, fighting for the whole thing. It's a talent, star power, and the content combination can go beyond what you can think of right now.
Kamal, you add to that?
So I think firstly, this whole thing about streaming versus cinema, and not specifically in this question, but I think we touched upon it earlier.
Yeah.
The fact is that cinemas are actually benefiting from streaming. And the reason I say that is because films like KGF, which part one did, there was no part one, but KGF, when it came out as an original film, it did only about 40-50 crores in the Hindi dub. And over the next few years, it ran on streaming platforms. It was shown on television.
Yeah.
People got to watch it. People liked the hero, his swagger, the way, as Abhishek is saying, the way film is sort of put together. And people fell in love with the characters, with the story, with the whole, the way it was presented. And therefore, when the sequel or the next addition to that franchise came out, it did almost 10 times of the numbers that we had done with part one. So, and the same argument would apply to Fast and Furious series, same will apply to any other franchise. So there is a significant amount of benefit that cinemas are getting from streaming. And it's a big myth. And I mean, it's partly because streaming was so aggressive in the last 2 years and they wanted to release films directly. And because cinemas were shut and producers had no choice. But the fact remains that this model of releasing on theaters and then taking it to other platforms is a model which has worked for many, many years. And of course, films also went directly, even before streaming, films used to go to DVD directly.
Satellite, satellite, with satellite, who is this thing, theatrical and then satellite. Now theatrical, digital, satellite, so it's who is this thing? Yeah.
So I think we are absolutely fine with the way currently the industry is structured. That's just to sort of make this one point. On content, I think I agree with Abhishek, to say that only films which are rooted in Indian ethos and which, deal with some rituals or certain type of culture or some part of our culture, only they will work, or films which follow a certain narrative will not work, or only the ones which follow will work. I don't think that's correct. Audiences are very sort of simplistic in their point of view. The film either works for them, they either like it or they don't like it.
Right.
And if they like it, they spread the word. If they don't like it, they would, either not speak about it. And if they are in a bad mood, they'll probably end up criticizing the film. But the fact of the matter is that people are very simplistic. And if you keep, even in 2022, while we've got Kantara, which is about Indian ethos, culture, rituals, etc., very rural in its backdrop. But at the same time, Doctor Strange is working. Avatar, which is not set in any culture, forget Indian or American, is like some alien culture only. Even that, because the story is so interesting.
Right.
The film is so long, by the way. It's about 3 hours, 15 minutes.
Yeah.
And people are walking out saying that, we wish this film was like 4 hours or 4.5 hours and we would have still enjoyed the experience. So that's the magic of films. I mean, if it's a good film, it doesn't matter what story you're trying to tell. People would just have a great time.
Right. Akshay, were you saying something?
Yep. So just two things that I'll build over what Kamalji said. One, much like the streaming platforms are benefiting cinemas, I think the reverse is true as well. Because of course the producers on the panel may not be too happy about this, but box office really has become the price finding mechanism for streaming rights, where a lot of films that are going to the box office and proving their worth, much like Abhishek just said, that Drishyam did the numbers that it did. And I'm sure the streaming platforms would be jumping over each other to try and acquire Drishyam. And similarly, a film that doesn't find much of an audience theatrically will probably not be, acquired at a lopsidedly messy price by streaming platforms. So I think somewhere those barometers are being set by the box office, which is benefiting everyone, including the streamers, the satellite players, and all of that. And about the bit you said on storytelling, yes, I think that's the need for storytelling to be done in a manner that's, I think, crafted for the theatrical format. That has become very pronounced. And it's a simple thing, right? I mean, the story of an uncle killing the father and a son taking revenge is Bahubali, The Lion King, and every third Bhojpuri film there's been.
Right.
Now, what works theatrically is the way you tell that tale,
Storytelling.
the uniqueness of it. Like if you look at Drishyam 2, despite not being a spectacle, it has those emotional high points. It's got those scenes that keep you on the edge of your seat, which adds to the collective viewing experience.
Right.
And I think as an industry, we need to be very mindful of the way we tell our tales if we really want to score at the box office. And I'm pretty sure that we've learned from the success and failures of recent films, and we will do phenomenally well at that as an industry.
Right. Vikram and Nikhil, you have interesting slate of films coming up across platforms. You want to elaborate on that? Nikhil, you're on silent.
Yeah, so I agree with what Akshay is saying. I think that it's a major the last couple of months or even the year that has gone by is somewhat of a leveler in terms of where the producers were looking and we have been guilty about it also. Basically see the thing about putting a film into OTT or waiting for the theaters to do a theatrical release was not really about how good or bad the film was. It was about cash flow. It was a producer's decision. It was not really about the picture theater में चलेगी it was always about that, and I think I said that about a year and a half ago. It's only about cash flow, right? Smaller production companies like ours and boutique production companies like ours, we did not have the ability to wait for like a 83 or for that matter a Suryavanshi or whatever. We don't have that. We need to keep churning, right?
Yeah.
So I agree with Akshay. I mean, and today, yes, the platforms have gone back to using NBOC as the barometer for a digital price, right? And so there is a correction that is happening. Vikram and I have spoken about this greatly. Whenever Vikram and I meet, we only talk about this. So there is a correction. We should not lose. Why is everybody feeling, oh my God, the industry has come to a standstill, the industry has come to a halt? Because bad films will not work, good films will work. It's a simple
as that.
Yeah, Madhumita, and this whole concept of what I'm saying, disruption, is not a new concept. Yash Chopra was a disruptor all his life. Whether it is Daag, his first film outside his brother's production company was Daag, where a man walks into the sunset with two wives. He's been a disruptor. Disruption will always work. I'm sorry to say, Vikram, you haven't invented the wheel.
I'm heartbroken at that thought. But in agreement and furthering this line, we're talking about the latest outing of Avatar.
Yeah.
This creator disrupted back in 1998, right? The industry took an outlier spike back then. So was streaming as prevalent back then? No. Was technology as prevalent back then? No. There is no good time to do high quality work. There is no good time to do the right economics. And as far as themes are concerned, what hopefully will end with all the challenges that have come our way is this thing that we as an industry across the value chain tend to fall back on. It's like driving a car looking at the rearview mirror. If something works, we do more of that and we keep doing more of that without realizing that what worked was the novelty value. What worked was the unique experience, emotion, entertainment, stimulation that that film provided. I don't think there's going to be one single dominant theme that's going to rule the way moviegoers come to theaters to watch. What have we seen with the Drishyam 2? That a tale well told about people and characters that you can reach out and touch is what connects. At the same time, there's going to be a super spectacle like Way of Water. I think it's going to be multiple themes. It will be a big mistake if we fall back into the comfort of saying, let's look at what worked in the past and keep doing more of that. Because breaking news, the audience has moved on after watching that film and they're already looking for the next new thing. And if we keep going back to that comfort of our favorite word saying masala entertainer, that's not going to happen. That doesn't exist. That's dead. It's up to us to realize it. It died before the pandemic. It didn't wait for streaming. We didn't evolve. The audience demand evolved faster than we could as creators.
Right.